As the U.S. reports record highs of new coronavirus cases, President Trump repeated his claim that the pandemic will soon disappear.
I think that at some point that's going to sort of just disappear, I hope.
You still believe so? Disappear?
Well, I do. Yeah, sure, at some point. And I think we're going to have a vaccine very soon, too.
Lately, Trump has ignored grim assessments from his own health officials and instead focused on stoking cultural battles. After New York slashed the police budget by $1 billion, Trump rebuked the city's plan to paint Black Lives Matter on Fifth Avenue, calling it a symbol of hate that would denigrate the luxury street and further antagonize New York's finest. The city's mayor confirmed it's partially a message to the president.
We're going to make it really clear to the president. It's going to be right outside his doorstep. We want the president to hear it because he's never shown respect for those three words.
The last task force Trump created focused on coronavirus, but today the Department of Homeland Security formed another on protecting monuments, memorials, and statues, as Trump has vowed they won't be removed on his watch. Trump is even positioning himself for a fight with Congress over the matter, threatening to veto a defense spending act because it includes a provision to rename military bases named for Confederate leaders. Though the bill includes raising soldiers' pay, the press secretary has said Trump is serious about his threat.
The president will not be signing legislation that renames America's forts.
Trump's political advisors fear he's distracted from the health crisis facing the country as he continued to insist today that those reports of Russians offering to pay the Taliban to kill U.S. soldiers are fake news.
I agree with the intelligence people. I think, frankly, that many of the intelligence people didn't think it was something that even happened.
But he didn't explain why his national security advisor drew up plans in case they weren't.
Here at the White House, when we had this raw intelligence, we started an interagency process to look at options so that if the intelligence turned out to be verified, if it could be corroborated, then we'd have options to go to the president with to address the Russian situation.
And Jake, lawmakers have only been calling for more information about what the intelligence agencies know, and some of them will get it tomorrow when it's going to be the highest level briefing yet on what's been going on. That's going to be for the Gang of Eight, those congressional leaders from both parties and the heads of the intelligence committees. And it's going to be given by some of the intelligence officers they've been asking to hear from. The CIA director, the director of the National Security Agency, and the president's director of national intelligence will also be there tomorrow during this briefing at about 11:30 on Capitol Hill.
All right, Caitlin Collins at the White House for us, as always. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, who served in Iraq as a platoon leader with the U.S. Marines. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. You said today that the way President Trump has handled this entire controversy is, quote, treasonous. Obviously, treason is one of the worst crimes anyone can commit against their country. How is this treasonous?
It's aiding and abetting our enemy. Russia is our enemy. The Taliban is an enemy of the United States. And what the president has done with his complicit silence, with his undebatable dereliction of duty, in refusing to take action to protect our troops, is absolutely aiding our enemy.
So you also said that American kids are dead because of the president's inaction. As I understand it, intelligence is still investigating whether or not these bounties can be pinpointed on any specific attack, though there is an April 2019 attack that killed 3 Marines that they are looking at. Are you confident placing that level of blame on intelligence that is not yet verified?
I'm confident with everything we know. Jake, intelligence is never 100%. Okay, we didn't have 100% certainty that Osama bin Laden was in that compound in Pakistan when President Obama made the command decision to take him out. If I, as a platoon commander, received a report that my platoon might get ambushed, that perhaps we would get blown up by a mine, and I failed to say, well, you know, we should take mine-resistant vehicles. Perhaps I said, it's not 100%, so we're just going to go out on foot, and my platoon got blown up. I wouldn't be on Twitter defending myself. I would be in prison, because that is the basic level of command responsibility expected of the most junior officers in our military. And so for Trump to deny that as commander-in-chief is the ultimate dereliction of duty.
I have a lot of friends in the military, nothing like you, of course, who served. But one of the first reactions I got was from a mom whose son has served in Afghanistan, and she was just so distressed that President Trump's, well, at the news, although Russians meaning us ill is not exactly new, but at President Trump's reaction, which was most about passing the buck. I didn't get briefed. I don't know anything about it. And we still have yet to hear anything. He's attacking the New York Times and not attacking at all Putin or the GRU, which allegedly did this.
I mean, thank God Trump reads the New York Times because he doesn't seem to read his intelligence briefings. And thank God the New York Times made this story public so our troops would know, because the commander-in-chief and his team refused to take action. I mean, we also heard today Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, trying to say, oh, well, this wasn't verified. He knows better than that. And we ought to be asking, what did Mike Pompeo know? What did the Secretary of Defense, Esper, know? What did Vice President Pence know? And yet refuse to take action to protect our troops? Because every mother or father with a son or daughter on the front lines today has to be concerned. Has to be concerned that people at the highest level of our chain of command are not doing everything they can to protect our troops. You know, it reminds me, when I was in Iraq, George W. Bush was my commander-in-chief. Okay, I didn't vote for him twice. I disagreed with his war even though I was fighting in it. But I never imagined that George W. Bush would refuse to take action on intelligence that he had in the Oval Office to keep me and my Marines safe. This is truly a new low
I want to get your reaction
for the president.
I want to get your reaction to a claim President Trump just made during comments he made at Fox Business. Take a listen.
From what I hear, and I hear it pretty good, the intelligence people many of them didn't believe it happened at all. I think it's a hoax. I think it's a hoax by the newspapers and the Democrats.
Your response, sir?
It's just absurd. Doesn't matter how many people believe it or not. Doesn't matter if it's 100% verified. You're the commander-in-chief. You're responsible for the lives of young Americans. You do everything in your power to keep them safe, and this president did nothing. Why? Because he's more concerned about his liability with Russia. He's more concerned about his political future than the lives of our American troops, of our American heroes. Not draft dodgers like him, but the people who are volunteering to put their lives on the line for our country, for our Constitution, and our values. And I think every American, including every Republican who's still out there trying to deflect or defend the president here, needs to think about what that means on this 4th of July.